This is an in-depth, deep dive into Harry and Meghan's lives 5 years on after leaving the UK. And, there's lots of fascinating snippets in there. Clearly, the journalist has interviewed many sources, mostly anonymous sources. The biggest takeaway for me, I think, really, is just that sense of lackluster response to Harry and Meghan. The fact that nothing has really taken off for them with such momentum as to really make them leaders in Hollywood. They constantly seem to be on the back foot. We're hearing about shows being delayed, postponed, or canned, Spotify deals not being renewed. We also discover in this article that the Netflix deal was nowhere near to the $100 million reported. And I think there is just a sense that after so much anticipation and expectation as to what this power couple were going to achieve in Hollywood, there is, from Vanity Fair, the Bible of all things Hollywood, a great sense of disappointment. I mean, within the industry, this is certainly being seen as a forensic look at their lives. I think the feeling is on both sides of the Atlantic that this is not a positive piece for Harry and Meghan. This is not the cover story that Harry and Meghan would have hoped for. We do understand that they were approached, they were asked to be interviewed for this piece, and that they declined. They will have been aware that Vanity Fair for many months would have been digging around industry sources, speaking to people who have worked for the couple, and the outcome of all of this research and detailed deep dive is not a flattering portrait for the couple. This is a prestigious magazine. It's widely read around the world. It's hugely influential. For them to come out of this piece, which is less than flattering, is going to be deeply disappointing. I'm not told what their response exactly has been, but I have been told that Meghan particularly will be very, very disappointed with this, not least because she chose that magazine as the magazine to launch her as Harry's girlfriend, that very famous Wild About Harry front page, which she was by all accounts delighted with. Far less happy, I'm told, about this cover story. One of the things that came up in the article was that Meghan had put forward a proposal for a book that she would write post-divorce. Now, as we know, the couple have multiple book deals, and in the publishing world, it's not implausible that they would have said, well, if this happens, then we'd like a book post-divorce. If you leave the royal family, we want the full account of your lives afterwards. I think when you're doing multiple book deals, and certainly big dollar deals like Harry and Meghan have done, then every eventuality needs to be covered. What this proves is that, commercial ventures and big dollar publishing deals are top of the agenda, and that certainly for Meghan and for Harry, really nothing's off the table, whether that is a book about life after they left the royals, or hypothetically, a book that Meghan was rumoured to be considering writing should the couple divorce. While there have been many reports about the couple divorcing, one of the key things that comes out in this article is how in love they are, how hot they are for each other. And that's everything I hear from my sources, that this is still a couple who are deeply in love with each other. Now, there is a part in this extensive 8,000 word feature about Meghan potentially penning a book that would be her take on her life should she divorce from Harry. Now, I think rather than that sort of confirming any rumours of divorce between the couple, is more part of what would be a golden handcuffs deal between Meghan and the publishers, so that they would get the first rights to any book, should the couple leave the royal family, should Harry and Meghan get divorced. One of the claims that has resurfaced in this article are those bullying allegations that just don't seem to leave Meghan alone. We know that there were several cases against her out of Buckingham Palace that was going to be an investigation that was dropped. And this piece sort of reignites the allegations that Meghan is difficult to work with. Vanity Fair spoke to former employers who were apparently needing therapy after they worked for Meghan. She was compared to a character in Mean Girls, and was, according to the sources that Vanity Fair spoke to, very, very difficult. And of course, that fuels that Duchess difficult narrative, which was something that was very much played out over here in the UK papers. I certainly spoke to sources myself at the palace who also said that she could be rude and was difficult to deal with. And this seems to be something that has followed Meghan across the pond. One of the other nuggets to come out of this piece is that Harry and Meghan were actually paid significantly less than the $100 million deal that they were rumoured to have signed with Netflix. Now, the source doesn't give a figure on what they actually were paid, That was widely banded around that figure. Possibly it was less, but I think knowing how big the Netflix series Harry and Meghan was, how well it did for Netflix. I mean, it was such an explosive series. They, even if it was $100 million or close to, Netflix probably will consider that they've got their money's worth. I think the problem has been since then that nothing else has been box office in the same way that their docuseries was. But the suggestion here is that they weren't paid as much as everyone thinks they were. While Meghan will have been, I think, very upset about, not hitting Hollywood gold in terms of Vanity Fair and its very high barometer, I think, Harry may end up feeling quite emasculated by this piece. It alleges that Meghan sort of parents him, and also suggests that he'd be happier, letting Meghan go out and make all the money while he focuses on polo. But actually, when you consider his previous life as Prince Harry within the royal family, those were his key interests. Playing polo, albeit to raise a lot of money for charity, and carrying out his patronages. What Harry is having to do now, which he's never had to do, is go to work and earn a salary. Of course, that's something Meghan's done for her entire life. So clearly the sources that they are speaking to have picked up on that dynamic within the marriage, something that I can imagine isn't going to make Prince Harry feel particularly happy. I think when you read this piece, which is essentially a deep dive into their 5 years, when you consider what they've actually done philanthropically, which was always going to be a key focus, it's relatively small fry. And I think there is just a sense within Hollywood and indeed around the world of what are this couple going to do next. We know we've got Meghan's cookery show coming up that was postponed because of the LA fires. That's going to be hitting our screen soon, and frankly really needs to be a success for Harry and Meghan. Whether or not they were paid $100 million for Netflix, their next show has to be box office gold, because otherwise I think they're going to struggle to sign these big multi-million-dollar deals.